What if your baby's intelligence isn't built later, but shaped from the very first interactions? Not with toys, not with apps, with you. Most people think intelligence comes from stimulation, colors, sounds, objects, activities. So they try to teach early, show more, do more, introduce everything as fast as possible. But something feels off. The baby gets overwhelmed, distracted, sometimes even restless. Now imagine this instead. You're holding your baby. No rush, no noise, just presence. You look into their eyes and pause. They look back. That moment, silent, simple, is doing more for their brain than you realize. In many Japanese parenting philosophies, intelligence doesn't begin with information. It begins with attention. Deep, focused, uninterrupted attention. Because when a baby feels seen, their brain activates differently. Neural connections form through connection, not overload. Now think about your day. How many times are you physically there, but mentally somewhere else? Phone in hand, thoughts running, multitasking. Your baby feels that. Not consciously, but neurologically. And here's the shift. When you slow down, your baby speeds up. Their focus increases. Their curiosity deepens. Their awareness sharpens. Not because you're doing more, but because you're present. And here's what almost no one tells you. Intelligence is not built through quantity of stimulation. It's built through quality of interaction. In the next chapter, you'll discover the first Japanese secret. Something so subtle, most people overlook it, but it directly shapes how your baby learns to think. There's a moment most people rush and never realize what they're losing. Your baby is looking at something, a shadow on the wall, a sound in the distance. Their eyes fix, their body stills, and instinctively, you interrupt, you talk, you point, you try to explain. But what if that silence was the learning? In many Japanese approaches, there's a deep respect for observation. Not everything needs to be named, guided, or accelerated. Sometimes the most powerful learning happens when the baby is allowed to process. Now imagine this. Your baby is staring at a simple object. No flashing lights, no noise, just presence. Their brain begins to map. Shapes, contrast, movement, cause and effect. No one is directing, and that's the key. Because when you don't interrupt, your baby completes the thought. Their attention stretches longer. Their curiosity becomes internal, not dependent. And here's what most people don't notice. When adults constantly fill the space with words and stimulation, the baby stops exploring deeply. They react, instead of think. But when there's space, the brain organizes itself. Connections strengthen. Focus grows. It's subtle, quiet, almost invisible. But it's building something powerful. Independent thinking. And here's the shift. You don't need to teach more. You need to interrupt less. Because intelligence isn't just about input. It's about what the brain does with it. In the next chapter, there's a daily interaction, something you do naturally, that can either accelerate your baby's development or quietly limit it without you realizing. Pay attention to the next time your baby makes a sound, a small noise, a random syllable, something that doesn't even feel like communication yet. Most people smile and move on. But what if that moment was the beginning of a conversation? In many Japanese parenting approaches, there's a principle that seems simple, but changes everything. Every signal deserves a response, not a big reaction, not exaggerated stimulation, just acknowledgement. Now imagine this. Your baby makes a sound. You pause. You look. You respond back, not with a full sentence, but with tone, rhythm, presence. And suddenly, something shifts. Your baby reacts again. That's not coincidence. That's connection becoming communication. Because the brain starts to understand something powerful. My actions create responses. And that's the foundation of intelligence. Cause and effect. Interaction. Meaning. Now think about the opposite. When signals are ignored, rushed, or replaced with distraction, the brain receives a different message. My actions don't matter. And slowly, engagement decreases. But when you respond consistently, Even to the smallest attempts, your baby leans in, tries again, explores more, not because they're being taught, but because they're being heard. And here's the detail most people miss. It's not about what you say. It's about how you respond. Tone, timing, attention. That's what builds neural pathways. That's what strengthens thinking. Because intelligence doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in interaction. In the next chapter, there's a simple daily habit, something so common that can either sharpen your baby's focus or slowly train their brain to become distracted. Look at what's happening around your baby, not directly at them. A TV in the background, a phone lighting up, voices overlapping, movement everywhere. It feels normal. But what if this constant stimulation is quietly shaping how your baby's brain learns to focus? Now imagine your baby trying to pay attention to something simple. A hand, a sound, a face. And suddenly, another sound interrupts. A light flashes. A voice rises. The attention breaks. And this happens again, and again, and again. Here's what most people don't realize. Focus is not automatic. It's trained. In many Japanese environments, especially in early childhood, there's a conscious effort to reduce unnecessary stimulation, not to limit learning, but to protect attention, because attention is the doorway to intelligence. Now picture a different scene. The space is calm, minimal noise, controlled movement. Your baby looks at something, and nothing interrupts that moment. Seconds pass, then more seconds, and something powerful is happening. Their attention is stretching, deepening, strengthening. This is how the brain learns to concentrate, not by being pulled in every direction, but by being allowed to stay. And here's the shift. It's not about adding more stimulation. It's about removing what competes with it. Because when your baby learns to focus early, everything else becomes easier. Learning, thinking, observing. It all builds on that foundation. In the next chapter, there's a daily interaction, something incredibly simple, that can dramatically increase your baby's memory and awareness without you even realizing it. Notice what happens when your baby sees the same thing. Again, and again, and again. Most adults get bored quickly. They think, let's change it. Let's show something new. But your baby? They lean in. Because repetition isn't boring to them. It's how they understand the world. Now imagine this moment. You show your baby a simple action, maybe stacking something, maybe a sound, maybe a gesture. The first time, they watch. The second time, they recognize. The third time, something clicks. Their eyes sharpen. Their body anticipates. Their brain begins to predict what comes next. And that's where intelligence is forming. Not in novelty, but in pattern recognition. In many Japanese practices, repetition is not avoided. It's respected. The same routine, the same actions, the same sequences. Not because there's nothing new to offer, but because mastery comes from familiarity. And here's what most people miss. When you constantly change the stimulus, the brain stays in surface-level attention. But when you repeat, the brain goes deeper. Connections strengthen. Memory solidifies. Understanding becomes internal. Now think about your day. How often do you rush to introduce something new before your baby has fully processed the last experience? That's where growth gets interrupted. But when you allow repetition, you allow the brain to complete the cycle. And here's the shift. You don't need more variety. You need more depth. Because intelligence isn't built by how many things your baby sees, but by how deeply they understand what they see. In the next chapter, there's a small emotional detail, something almost invisible, that can either expand your baby's confidence to explore or quietly limit it. Watch what happens the moment your baby tries something and hesitates. A small reach, a shift of the body, an attempt to grab, move, or explore, and right there, they pause. Not because they can't, but because they're unsure. Now imagine what comes next. You rush in, you adjust, you help. You correct the movement before it even finishes. It feels supportive. But something subtle gets interrupted. Because in that exact moment, Your baby was about to discover something on their own. In many Japanese parenting approaches, there is a quiet respect for effort. Even when it looks imperfect, the baby is given space to try, to struggle a little, to complete the action. Not alone, but not interrupted. Now picture a different response. Your baby reaches again. This time you wait. You stay present, but still. No immediate correction. No rush to fix. Seconds pass, and then they succeed. Maybe not perfectly, maybe slowly, but they did it. And that moment builds something powerful. Confidence. Because the brain registers. I can act, and something happens. That belief changes everything. Curiosity expands. Exploration increases. Risk becomes possible. And this is where intelligence grows fastest. Not in perfect outcomes, but in self-initiated discovery. Now think about the opposite. If every action is corrected too early, the brain learns something else. I need help to finish. And slowly, initiative decreases. But when you allow effort to complete, you build independence. And independence fuels intelligence. Because a curious baby becomes an exploring child. And an exploring child becomes a thinking mind. In the next chapter, there's a simple daily connection, something emotional, not technical, that can dramatically increase your baby's ability to learn from everything around them. Think about the last time your baby laughed, not a small smile, but a real reaction. Eyes bright, body engaged. Something clicked. Now pause. That moment did more than create joy. It created memory. In many Japanese perspectives on early development, emotion isn't separate from learning. It's the bridge. When a baby feels something deeply, the brain marks that moment as important. And important things are remembered. Now imagine this. You're interacting with your baby. Not rushing, not multitasking. You exaggerate your expression just slightly. Your tone shifts. Your face responds. Your baby watches, then reacts. And suddenly, there's connection. Not forced. Not overstimulated. Just real. And here's where it becomes powerful. When learning is tied to emotion, attention increases. Memory strengthens. Engagement deepens. But when interactions are neutral, distracted, or mechanical, the brain doesn't hold on to them. Now think about your daily moments. Feeding, changing, holding. They can be routine, or they can be meaningful. The difference? Emotion. Not exaggerated performance, but genuine presence. Because your baby doesn't just learn from what you do, they learn from what they feel while you do it. And here's the shift. You don't need more activities. You need more connection within the activities. Because when emotion is present, learning sticks. And in the next chapter, there's a subtle environmental detail, something most people ignore, that can either support your baby's thinking or quietly fragment it over time. Step back and look at your baby's environment. Not for what's there, but for how it feels. Too many colors, too many toys, too many options. It looks stimulating. But what if it's actually overwhelming? Now imagine your baby trying to choose where to look, what to touch, what to focus on, while everything competes at once. Attention splits, curiosity becomes scattered, nothing goes deep. In many Japanese approaches, the space around the baby is intentional. Fewer objects, clear organization. Each item has a place, a purpose, a moment. Not empty, focused. Now picture this. Your baby reaches for one object. There's no distraction pulling their attention away. They explore it longer, turn it, observe it, test it. The interaction deepens. And something important is happening. Their brain is learning to sustain attention and extract meaning. Because when the environment is simplified, the mind can go further. Now think about the opposite. If everything is available all the time, nothing holds value for long. The brain jumps quickly, moves on, doesn't complete the experience. And here's the shift. It's not about giving more. It's about giving less, but better. Because intelligence doesn't grow in chaos. It grows in clarity. And in the next chapter, there's a final behavior, something you do without thinking, that can either accelerate your baby's mental development or quietly slow it down over time. Now notice the pace of your own actions, not your baby's. The way you move, the way you respond, the way you transition from one moment to the next. Everything is fast. You pick them up quickly. You change positions quickly. You react immediately. You fill every pause. It feels efficient. But what if that speed is the very thing limiting your baby's ability to think? Now imagine this instead. You slow down. Not dramatically. Just enough. You wait 1 extra second before responding. You move your hand more gently. You allow a pause after your baby acts. And something subtle begins to happen. Your baby starts to anticipate. Their eyes follow longer. Their body prepares. Their brain begins to process what's coming next. Because now, there's time. Time to observe. Time to connect cause and effect. Time to think. In many Japanese cultural patterns, there is a natural rhythm of patience in interactions. Not forced slowness, but a respect for timing. Because when everything happens too fast, the brain doesn't keep up. It reacts, instead of understanding. Now think about this. When you respond instantly to every small movement, your baby doesn't need to complete the process. But when you pause, they fill the gap. And that's where development accelerates. Not in speed, but in space. And here's the shift. You don't need to do more. You need to slow down just enough for your baby's brain to catch up and go further. Because intelligence grows in the pauses most people skip. In the next chapter, everything connects. And you finally see how all these small details come together to shape a truly intelligent mind. Now, step back and look at everything you've been doing and what you've just started to notice. It was never about one trick, not one toy, not one method, not one right way. It was always about the small moments, the way you look, the way you wait, the way you respond, the way you simplify, the way you slow down. Individually, they seem simple, but together, they reshape how your baby's brain develops. Now imagine your day again. You're present. You allow silence. You respond with intention. You don't rush. You don't interrupt every action. The environment feels clear. The interactions feel real. And your baby? They focus longer. Explore deeper. React with more awareness. Try again and again. Not because you're pushing them, but because you've created the conditions where their mind can grow. And here's the shift that changes everything. You stop trying to make your baby smarter and start removing what was limiting their intelligence all along, because intelligence isn't something you add, it's something you allow. And once you see that, every interaction becomes an opportunity. Every pause becomes powerful. Every response becomes a building block. And your baby doesn't just learn faster, they learn better, deeper, with meaning. And that's what truly builds an intelligent mind. Not pressure, not excess, but presence, clarity, and connection. Before you leave, pause for a second. Which of these secrets made you rethink the way you interact with your baby? Was it the silence, the rhythm, the way you respond? Comment below and tell me what you're already doing, or what you're going to change starting today. Your experience can help another parent see something they've been missing. And if this opened your mind even a little, subscribe now, because the way you interact today is shaping the mind your baby will have tomorrow.